Hi guys, welcome to this new video on Node Express MongoDB Bootcamp, and this is going to be a very interesting and important video because we are going to be implementing forget and reset password in this video. This video might get a little longer and I might divide this topic into two videos because we need to create two APIs, one for forgetting the password, sending the email to a particular email ID, sending the request token along with the link that will be used by the client side to actually reset the password. Okay, so first of all I need to create API, and in the auth controller I will be actually creating a new function that will be a controller, and I will write exports forget password equals to async, and then the request response next, and here for now let's just return next. All right, and let's go to our user routes, and here I'm going to create a new route for forget password which I have created. So user router dot post, and inside it I will be creating forget password and then the forget password. I also need to bring up this forget password over here. Okay, so it has to be forget password. Actually, let's make sure our name is same. Yes, it is forget password. So this route will become localhost colon 4000 slash API slash users slash forget password, and we are going to hit this particular function. All right, so now let's go ahead and find out that what we need to implement. First of all, forget password works in a way that user, when forget his password from the login page or the sign up page, he needs to provide us an email ID from the client side. Okay, so through that email ID we need to send a reset password link to his email ID. So first of all, let's fetch the email ID which is coming from the request body, and assume that the client will be sending that email ID. So first of all, I'm going to find a particular user with that email ID if that exists. So find one request. I will be writing email request.body.email. Okay, and then I will be just checking if the user exists. If it does not exist, I'll just be returning a failed message. User with this email ID does not exist. All right, so once we verify that, we are going to proceed further. So we have got this user. Now what we need to do is we need to generate a new token that will be used to send an email ID to the particular email which is being sent from the client. And we don't want to store the actual token, we want to encrypt it and store that in the database. Okay, so first of all I'm going to create a new instant method in my user model. So I'm gonna go and I'm going to create over here. So first of all I'm going to write user schema dot methods dot generate password reset token. Okay, and I'm not going to pass anything in this function. And in order to generate that, I can use the bcrypt package which I'm already using, but a short way is that the built-in library called the crypto, which is built in Node. So I'm just going to save this file for now. And in this instant method I'm going to use this crypto package in order to, so my tab 9 AI assistant extension of VS Code is already suggesting things for generating the token. So I'll just hit tab, and this is pretty much I need in this function. So reset token crypto random bytes 22 string hexa, and then I'm going to generate the password reset token with the crypto reset token SHA26 and hex, and then password reset expires date. Now I don't want this number, I want my token to be expired in 5 minutes. So this is currently a millisecond. So in order to convert 5 minutes into milliseconds, I just need to write 30,000. Okay, 300,000 value over here. Then I'll be returning this reset token. So in this model, I'll be creating few properties. So password reset token and password reset expires. And one is of type string, another one is of type date. So let's save this model, and I'll be using this particular function here in order to generate the token. So let's write const reset token equals to user dot generate. Let's copy it from the model. And it will return the token to our variable, and after that I'll be saving it in the database. I don't want to save it in the database without converting it into the token. So now let's go ahead and try to generate a URL that will be sent to a client with this email ID. Okay, so I'm going to write const reset URL equals to, and first of all I need to get the URL from which I have got this email ID. So assume that I can get the URL from the API. So API will be having the protocol which we can get with the $ request dot protocol, and after this I'll write colon hash hash and then the $ request dot get of type host, and after this I will write slash API slash users slash reset password, and at the end I can append the token which I have generated above. So I will write $ and then the reset token which I have generated. Okay, let's save this file. And just to explain you why I am creating this URL and why I am creating this URL. So we will be creating a new API, and that will be a reset password API which we'll be creating in this route file. And this URL, this complete reset URL is going to be sent to the client, whoever is going to trigger the password request, password change request actually. Okay, and when they will be clicking on this link, we want them to navigate to a reset password API. So I will be explaining you that since I'm using the Postman, and in the Postman you can analyze that it is a client, and this is a reset password that I've already generated, which is the reset password. So what happens is, if you are building the front end in JavaScript, Angular, React, Vue.js, you will be having the two pages, one for the forget password, other for the reset password. So this forget password API is what I'm already creating over here. And from the front end, when user will try to enter an email ID, we will be hitting this API, and this API will be responsible to send this URL to the email ID of that recipient, the client. Okay, and user will need to click this URL, a particular URL from the front end, and they needs to open up a particular page, not this URL at the moment. They have to open up a particular page, and from that page they will be entering a password and confirm password field from the front end. Okay, and they have to actually call this URL with the reset token, and we will be creating another API that will be triggered when this URL is hit from the client side. Okay, so currently we don't have the front end, we are only focusing on the back end in this crash course. So I'm just explaining you how the flow works from front end to back end. Okay, and front end application also needs to manage when they needs to call which API. Okay, so this is the URL which I have created. Now let's create a new string. So I'm going to write const body equals to forgot password reset password by calling given API. Okay, and I'm going to pass this URL. So this is a string I have constructed. Let's try to log this string first. So body, and let's save this file. And first, I'm not actually sending the email right now. I'm just trying to figure out that whether the body is actually printing the right data which I'm expecting. So it needs to fetch the user, which needs to be existing in the database, and then it needs to create a generate token with the crypto package, and then it needs to generate this URL and this string, and this string needs to be printed along with this complete URL which I have created. Okay, first of all, I need to create a user. So in the Postman, I have actually, whenever I want to trigger a new password change, I want to receive an email on my email host application. So currently I'm not be using any personal email ID. So I'm just using an application called tempmailo.com, and it is a fake email ID. This is just for testing, and it gives you some email IDs over here which you can change, and below this we will have an inbox. So this is the email ID with which I'll be creating a new user, and I'll be requesting forget password with the same email ID because I want to receive a link to reset the password within this same email ID. So considering that I'm the client and my email ID is this at the moment. Okay, so let's go to our Postman, and here I'll be creating a new user. So let's hit send, and this new user have been created over here with the JWT token and this name and this email ID. Okay, and let's go ahead in our forget password, and here I'm using the same email ID because this is the email ID for which I want to change the password. So let's first go ahead and verify in our MongoDB whether this API, the user have been generated or not. And yes, it has been generated with the same data we have passed, and this password is encrypted at the moment, and you can see that the email ID is the one which I have used. Okay, so now let's go ahead, forget password. Let's trigger. I will be printing out this body over here in this terminal just for testing. So let's click on the forget password, page not found. Let's go, and it is actually printed this URL, and you need to ignore this error at the moment because I'm not handling it currently. And I think it has generated this localhost 4000/API. And at the end, after reset password, it has actually added this reset token, which will be used by the client side application to request the change password like this reset password. And this will be triggered from the client side. And after this, I will be passing this token which is generated. Let's go ahead. Up till now, our functionality is working fine. After this, we need to do one thing. We need to send an email ID to a particular client. Okay, so how we can send an email ID? There are a lot of ways, a lot of libraries, and I'll be using the famous one called the sendgrid. And what you need to do is you need to go ahead on the sendgrid application. You need to sign up with it. It will ask you to verify your email ID, ask you to add two-factor authentication. And once you are completely signed up on this email provider website, you need to first go to the API key section in the settings here, and after this you need to create a new API key by clicking on the full access. Okay, create a new API key. It will generate a new API key of and you need to give it the name as well. Okay, and once it shows you a particular API key, you need to copy and paste and save it somewhere because it will never show you that API key again because of security reasons. And currently this is the API key that I have generated, and it is not showing me. If I hover over it, you can see that it is showing for security purposes we don't allow the key value to be displayed. And when it first time displayed, I have already saved it in my env file. Okay, so once you do it, save it in our code, then we need to go to our sender authentication here. Okay, in the settings, and here we need to register from which email we want to send an email to the client. Okay, so currently our application does not exist, it's not deployed on production. We can actually register the single sender verification which you can add over here, and through which email we will be sending an email ID to a particular client, whoever wants to change his password. Okay, so we have to do all these steps and these steps will require your 5 to 10 minutes to add two-factor authentication, verify your sender email address as well, and these two things, API key and the sender authentication. Okay, so now let's go to our code, and here I've already created this particular API key of sendgrid in my config.env file, which I cannot share. Obviously, it's on my account. And after this body, I'm going to create an object. So first of all, I'm going to create message, and inside it, I need to write an user.email. Okay, and this is the email to which I want to send email. Okay, and from I need to pass an email ID which I have registered in the sender email authentication in the sendgrid, which I just showed you. Okay, and the same email ID I'll be writing over here. It should be registered in sendgrid. After this, I will be giving the subject. So let's say the reset password, and text would be the body, and this is the text string which we will be passing to the client. Okay, and after this, we need to trigger the sendgrid to send an email. So what I need to do is I've already actually I need to import the sendgrid here, and first of all I need to write the const sgmail require, and then I can write at sendgrid/mail. Okay, and we also need to install it in our project. So in the terminal, I'll just be writing npm install at sendgrid/mail. Okay, and it will be installed, downloaded. So while it is getting installed, let's go down, and now we need to send an email ID. First of all, let's fetch our token which I have created in config.env file. So I'm going to write sgmail dot set API key, and I'm going to pass the URL which I have created in my config.env file. So the name I have given to it is sendgrid underscore API underscore key. Okay, then I will be writing the sgmail dot send, and first I will be passing the message which I have generated above, and I'll be writing then, and inside it I'll be returning the response. If it is successful, password reset link have been sent to your recipient email ID, and after this I will be writing the catch block, and I will be writing async error arrow function and this. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove password reset token and password reset expires which I have created in the model. So I will be writing user.password reset token equals to undefined, and here I'm removing it. Password.reset token password reset expires equals to undefined, and then I will be saving it over here. Okay, so await user save, validate this, and after this I'll be returning a response that it got failed. So rather than sending this, I'll just be adding error in sending mail to user to reset password, please try again, and that's it. We don't need to add this next function over here. These responses will manage everything. Now if I hit the API of forget password which I have created, these two properties will be generated in the database for the user, and if there is an error like this, it will be removed from the database. Okay, so now let's go ahead and go to the forget password, and I'm passing the same email ID. Let's send, and let's see what happens, and it is successful, and the password reset link have been sent to your email. Let's go to our browser. Let's first refresh this and see what it has. So here you can see that these two properties are also added over here, and these two properties will be used to reset password after the email ID is sent. And once the reset password is done, I'll be removing these two properties from the database. So now let's go ahead in the temp email ID, and here I will be refreshing. So actually I'm using the free email provider for the fake emails. So sometimes this service works and sometimes does not. So I did not receive any email at this time, but for now I have used another temporary email. So in reality, in real application, you will be having a real email ID on Gmail, Hotmail, or any other company email ID. Okay. And you will be receiving the email ID on that. So I've actually created a new user with this updated email ID on the template, and for generating the user and also for forgetting the user in my create user as well as the forget password API. So this is the new email ID, and then I have received this email below, reset password, and if I click on it, let me close this ad. So here you can see that this is the URL it has provided, and it's not looking good because we are not using the real email ID, and also our current URL which we sent from the forget password API has been changed by sendgrid to this for the security reason, which we can modify it, which we will do later on. And this is the same string which I'm passing from that. So if I just copy this whole string from here, and if I paste it over here and hit enter, you will see that this is the URL which I passed from the forget password API, localhost 4000 /API /user /reset password, and it has appended this URL, the route, the token which I generated. Okay, and the client side application who will be having the reset password page where they will need to provide the password and the confirm password, they need to call the reset password API which we will be generating in the next video along with this token, so that we know that this token actually verified and this is the user for which password needs to be changed. Okay, so then we will trigger the API, update the user in the database and change its password. Okay, so for now that's pretty much it. It's a long video. We are done with the forget password, sending email to the client, and in the next video we will talk about creating APIs for resetting the password from the client side. All right, till then, see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe my channel.